Federal government working for the takeoff of the Nigeria Special Economic Zones Company. Nigeria generates over $180 billion from deep water operations. PENCOM targets 3 trillion naira assets and 20 million contributors. The Federal Inland Revenue Service assures taxpayers money not missing. Plus price volatility forced cashew exports into processing. Details of these and more on this edition of Business Express on the network service of the NTA. I am Liakatun Babatunde. The federal government says it has in the last 4 years targeted its investment policies towards building a robust, competitive economy, giving priority to industrialization and job creation. Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment Okechukwu Enelama at an interface with the media said 13 major reforms were achieved during the period under review. The reforms were achieved in 5 major areas: ease of doing business, industrialization, attracting investment, MSME development, and fostering value chain.
If you look at every country that has succeeded, you will find that they focused on creating the right environment for people to operate in, because for your industry to be competitive, they need to have infrastructure. And since we cannot create the whole infrastructure for the entire country in one swoop, what we're doing, which is what we learned from markets or countries like China and other countries that have industrialized rapidly, is to identify centers where we can provide all the facilities and infrastructure that industry needs, industrial parks, and more broadly called special economic zones.
He said government is working alongside other stakeholders to raise $500 million for the takeoff of the Nigeria Special Economic Zones Company. For this reason, government, Enalama said, has to contribute its counterpart fund of $125 million, which has not been released. Meanwhile, reactions have continued to trail the reappointment of Godwin Emefiele as governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, by the President, Muhammadu Buhari, which was conveyed to the Senate Thursday for confirmation in a letter. One of such reactions is from the Northeast Commodity Association through its national chairman, Alhaji Sadiq Dawari, in the country, who have benefited immensely from the monetary authority through agricultural programs designed to attain the goal of diversification of the economy. But stocks did not budge on this news, but the bond market reacted positively. Let's now see how the Naira is exchanging for other international currencies. Gross official reserves increased by $360 million in April to $44.79 billion. This follows a brief surge the previous month, driven by very strong inflows from foreign portfolio investors (FPIs) on the fixed income side just after the re-election of President Muhammadu Buhari. Nigeria is taking steps to boost her cotton production to meet her local demand and that of international market. The government, through the Central Bank of Nigeria, is providing incentives to farmers to upscale their production from 80,000 metric tons per annum to more than 300,000 metric tons in the next 2 years, aimed at reviving the textile industries that went comatose. Musa Baba Aliu has the details.
And textile industry was the major driver of more than 60% of Nigeria's economy in 1980 to the early 1990s. It was estimated that the textile industry during that period generating on the average $2 billion per year, with not less than 180 textile factories across the country. Sadly, that is now history, as Nigeria has no place in the world of textile business.
The textile industry engaged close to 1.5 million people. Textiles in Kaduna, Kano, Ikeja, Aba disappeared. And we became a nation of importers of textiles. The consequences are now what we see: kidnapping, violence, totally unreasonable violence. We have to create jobs.
However, the Central Bank of Nigeria believes that Nigeria could still take her rightful place in the world of cotton and textile production. The first step taken by the bank towards achieving this goal is to provide financial and input support to cotton farmers.
Nigerians will have over 190 million people. If you can imagine the size of business that is created by revitalizing the textile industry, then you will imagine what we're talking about. All of us are here. We are all wearing textiles. Either our coats or our underpants are all textile made. And you can imagine the volume and size of business that will be created. You can imagine the volume and the size of employment that is going to be created as a result of this initiative. What I like to say is this: we need our country back, and there is a need for all hands to be on deck to be sure that we get our country back, to be sure that the potentials that this country has, that we harness it for the good and the glory of our country and our people.
The production of cotton is just one step. The ginners will like to have quality cotton, and the spinners will like to have quality lint of the cotton. And then the spinners will like to have something excellent, and then the weavers, the knitters, and the and the garments. At the end of it, if you look at the chain, you find that each level employs a number of people. And therefore, we have to be very serious so that we don't miss any step.
100,000 farmers from Katsina, Gombe, Kaduna and Zamfara states are the first batch to benefit from the program.
Well, obviously, the bedrock raw material requirement of the textile companies is cotton. So if they have enough cotton and have enough good quality cotton, then obviously it will aid their production.
And joining me to look at this new interest in cotton and its value chain is Country Director, Open Forum for Agriculture and Biotech, Rose Gidado. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's just shoot immediately. We're talking cotton,
yes.
The business of cotton.
Yes.
Nigeria used to be in the forefront.
Yes.
What happened?
Nigeria used to be in the forefront around the 60s and 70s, but when oil was discovered, Nigeria actually went for the oil. Cotton production decreased. Agriculture was like the second economic, economic venture, and so cotton production also decreased, and it decreased just at the time Nigerians grew the taste, the penchant for high quality cotton materials. High quality shirts and cotton materials and all. And that's, we started importing and because agriculture was actually neglected, put at the background.
Okay, so let me just digress a bit now. When we're importing fabrics, we all import fabrics. The bulk of Nigerians, I mean, import fabrics.
Yes.
What does that translate economically and to the farmers of cotton?
Economically, it's actually not a viable venture because I knew Nigeria actually was spending 115 billion naira on this cotton, materials imports, and that is not going well. Not going well with the farmers, with the cotton farmers, and with the textile industries, because it has actually, increased, the prices of materials and what, just like, it's not really as it used to be. It's not business any longer because imports, it's not really the best thing for Nigeria. We should begin to look inwards. We should develop, our own economy. We should also develop our raw materials, our own crops, to actually cut down this business of imports and what, so that prices will come down, prices will be stabilized. Everybody will, would have, would afford to buy, materials, to buy clothes and what. Otherwise, it's not.
Okay, talking development.
Well with the economy.
Talking development now. I think most of the youth around the growing population would not really have an idea because they didn't get to see cotton at its best in Nigeria.
Yes.
So if you're going to point out to us, what are those opportunities along the cotton value chain?
The opportunities are enormous. In fact, we have to start from the farm, from cotton cultivation, of course. I'm happy the steps that the federal government has taken just recently on Monday, launching cotton production, and productivity. And of course, that will be a boost, to the economy, a boost to cotton production, to revamp the textile industries that were employers of labor. That was the second employer of labor in Nigeria in those days when agriculture was actually taken very seriously. But today it's no longer like that. Our youth are there, they are looming, they don't have jobs to do, and so there's so many things. But then for us to actually reap the benefit of this, what the federal government has, the steps it has taken to actually bring back cotton production. Of course, the youth will be employed. There will be a lot of opportunities down the value chain, starting from the farm. Farmers will have access to seeds, of course, will have access to seeds at the right time. They will have access to quality seeds, and so on and so forth. And then from the farm, productivity will go higher. Of course, the textile industry, the ginneries, the what, they will all revamp, back. And because we have so many of them that are in comatose. And of course, that is loss of jobs, for our teeming population, for our teeming youth. But then, for us to really be able to sustain this, we need to use BT cotton. That's cotton that has been genetically modified to actually resist those insects. The insects that, actually make farmers to lose a lot and discourage them. It brings a lot of drudgery in farming and what, and makes the youth, to run away from agriculture. We have to make it attractive. We have to have access to high quality yielding seeds, which in Nigeria already has.
If I may chip in now, you're talking about the high quality seeds.
Yes.
Now, technologically, if we look at the major exporting countries of cotton, yes,
of cotton,
we're really not there yet. Nigeria is really not there. So, if we're talking now from seed all the way all through the value chain? What is the place of technology in agriculture, especially as it has to do with cotton, and what is the size of that market?
The size of that market is big. The place of technology in cotton is cannot be overemphasized, because without technology using cotton, we can't do business. Since we're taking agriculture as a business, we're diversifying the economy, we're moving away from the oil down to agri. And of course, in that agri, unless you use appropriate technologies that would actually improve our seeds, because it's there, the yield is all dependent on the quality seeds, having access to seeds that have been improved to have high yields. Like the use of modern biotechnology techniques that's bringing in the BT cotton that has been improved. Is all the use of technology, bringing in mechanization, so that you'll be able to have large expanse of land and you'll be able to manage your large expanse of land, and so on and so forth. So it's actually, I mean, it's a very profitable, I mean, venture, and so on and so forth. It will bring in money. It will cut down production costs, because as it is now, production cost is high, because a farmer has to spray like 9 to 10 sprays for him to have harvestable yield, and farming is all about harvestable yield. If you don't have yield, forget it, because as you have high yields, of course you're going to make profits. And with the use of technology, profit, you have 50% profit, and then you have 37% increase in yield with the use of technology in agriculture, especially the modern biotechnology technique, which Nigeria has already adopted. And because we already have 2 varieties of high-yielding cotton seeds, that, of course, from this year, farmers will be trained on this, how they can produce seeds themselves.
Now,
so that we don't need to import seeds.
I was actually going to ask you, how receptive are policymakers to the use of technology for agriculture?
The policymakers are very receptive, because I remember last year in November, the Honorable Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Ogbonnaya Onu, and the Minister of Agriculture, Chief Audugbe, they all got together and actually held a world press conference on the launch of BT cotton seeds varieties that were developed by the Institute for Agricultural Research, IAR Zaria, under the Ahmadu Bello University. The 2 high-yielding cotton seeds, they give yield of 4.1 to 4.4 tons per hectare. And of course, our productivity is going to go high, from 60,000 tons down to 150,000 tons, and that's quite, I mean, enormous. And that translates to money, translates to business, translates to job creativity, and so on and so forth. It translates to so many things. Our economy will be revamped, and so on and so forth.
So access to credit and access to information, which is more critical to the farmers?
Wow. Access to credit is actually very critical. I know information is critical, but then access to credit, so that farmers will be able to get good seeds, get seeds at the right time, get access to quality seeds that have been improved, seeds that will give them 100% germination, and at the end productivity will go higher, and so on and so forth. So I think access to credit is actually first and foremost thing. They have to have access to credit, and that has been granted, you know, by the CBN governor. Okay,
so now that the government is looking at a different story in the next 2 years,
yes,
what will be your projections?
In the next 2 years, the textile industries will be revamped, of course, because productivity is going to go high with this launch, with access to credits and the access to information. Of course, information, aside from getting access to credit, there will be access to information. With the good training, the farmers will be received. The farmers and the extension workers. The extension workers are also very key, teaching the farmers what to do and what, you know, in their own languages. They have their own jargons, and so on and so forth. And so that's, with all this in place, productivity is going to go higher, and then the textile industries will be revamped, and then there'll be job and wealth creation, and then we're going to have access to quality lint, and Nigeria will be in the global business of cotton. That is, I mean, it's going to be a big thing, and we're going to make maybe like $2 billion a year, and that is business.
Wow, $2 billion, that's actually a large amount of money.
It's a large amount of money, because Burkina Faso was making $1 billion a year annually when they were actually in this business, until when they had, I mean, some problems. Okay, so some certain problems, but Nigeria being the giant of Africa, being bigger in population, you know, in size and everything, we're going to make something much.
Thank you very much for coming on Business Express today. And I've been speaking to Rose Gidado. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Moving on now, precious metals are having a good run following trade uncertainty supported by a weaker dollar, and investors sought safe haven assets. Let's take a look at how commodities are faring. And under newly introduced guidelines meant to protect funds from the Federation account going to local government councils by the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, the Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees has considered the guidelines as pivotal to the guarantee of financial autonomy to local governments.
The beauty of the National Financial Intelligence Unit guideline that the state local government joint account is only a collection account for funds to be shared directly to local government council within a state. That no withdrawal can henceforth be done from a state local government joint account unless and until that withdrawal is going into a particular local government account. Prohibition of streamlined accounts for local governments. Prohibition of a ceiling of 500,000 daily cash withdrawal for all local governments across the country. All other withdrawal must be by checks or by electronic transfers.
Therefore, welcome the bold action of the federal government designed to put an end to the flagrant abuse of local government funds by state governors. Now, sell pressures continue to press down the Nigerian stock market deep into the red territory. At the end of Friday's session, the market recorded its week-long negative outlook to see the all-share index depreciate by 0.17%. It closed at 28,847.81 basis points, with market capitalization reducing to 10.8 trillion naira. 235.2 million shares worth 1.3 billion naira were traded in 3,130 deals. Sovereign insurance was the most sought-after trade. Stanbic topped the gainers table, while Seplat led the decliners. And away from home, stocks in Asia rose in Friday morning trade despite increased U.S. tariff on Chinese goods due to kick in later in the day. Let's join Boss Day Abel with an update.
Global stocks began trade mixed Friday 10th of May as stock market sell-off started to ease despite the U.S. fulfilling a promise to ramp up tariffs on Chinese goods. Stocks in Asia rallied after the U.S. carried out a threat and raised tariffs on Chinese goods at midnight. The Shanghai Composite rose 3.1% to 2,939.21. Nikkei fell 0.27% to close at 21,344.92, while the Hang Seng Index topped 0.84%. European stocks were higher despite U.S. hiking duties on $200 billion worth of Chinese products, seeing most of Europe stocks appreciating. In the United States, shares on Wall Street were poised for losses stateside open as U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods were increased shortly after the stroke of midnight. Dow Jones Industrial Average Future slipped, implying an opening decline of nearly 90 points for the index at Friday's open. Futures also pointed to opening declines for the S&P 500 and Nasdaq Composite. In Africa, Ghana's, Tunisia's, South Africa's JSE Composite and Namibia Overall Index were positive, while Nairobi's all-share was negative.
The Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS) has dismissed reports suggesting that money paid as taxes have gone missing from the agency's coffers. FIRS Chairman Tunde Fowler made the clarification in Abuja, saying the taxes collected by the FIRS are not paid into the coffers of the service, but directly into the Federation account electronically through the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN). Now, this is where we wrap up this edition of Business Express. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube, and our Twitter handle is NTA News Now. Don't forget to use the hashtag BZ. Remember to join us same time, same station next week. I am Leah Katini. Bye-bye. Keep thinking and doing business.